Hi everyone, this is Raylene. We are going to be doing pretty much everybody's favorite bread today is cheese bread. So follow along and good luck. So just like all my breads, I do everything by weight. This is called, I think it's called a biga is how you pronounce it. I don't actually know because I've only read it and not really heard it pronounced. So we're going to start tonight with 800 grams of white flour. This is an 80% biga recipe. We'll put in the other 200 grams flour for the recipe in the morning. 1/4 teaspoon of dry active yeast, and then 544 grams of just kind of lukewarm water. $5.54. Close enough. Alright, and so this is it for this evening. We'll just mix this up. Okay, we're doing a pinching technique with my fingers here, kind of just squeezing the dough between my thumb and either middle or pointer finger as I go around. Scrape the bowl with my hands to make sure I'm getting all the flour. This recipe is going to make 2 big loaves. This is going to get stiff. Make sure you're getting all the dry bits incorporated. To get the stuff on the bottom, I often turn the dough over. Once you can see that there's no dry bits of flour anymore, just kind of flatten it out a little bit. Then I'm going to put a plate over top of this and leave it overnight on the counter. Okay, so we are day 2 now in the morning. We're going to be mixing our final dough. I'll show you what the biga should look like when you get up in the morning. It's risen nicely, full of all these nice air pockets. Okay, but we're actually going to get a separate bowl here. Put it on our scale, and we're going to be doing 200 grams of flour, and then 200 grams of warm water, half a teaspoon of yeast. Sprinkle it on the water there so that it starts to dissolve a little bit. And then 20 grams of salt. I always make a little hole in my flour because I'm pouring it out of a big container, and if I over pour, it's easy to scoop out. Get it just right there? Oh, come on. Okay, just that simple. We'll mix this up. Okay, once that's fully mixed, I'm just gonna dump it right on to that. Now we're making cheese bread, so I have pre-weighed 200 grams of aged cheddar cheese. Aged cheddar is going to bring a lot more flavor than mild or anything else. We're going to use the same technique as before, well, kind of a bit of stretching the dough and a bit of pinching. So I stretch it over a couple times. And then I'm going to be pinching, same as we did last night. You can use any kind of cheese you want. I
would guess that some nice aged or smoked cheese would be really good in this. I have done brie with roasted garlic in this bread before. This is also my dill and onion base. So you can do cut up finely diced onion and some dried dill. What other kinds have I done? The coconut craisin, toasted coconut and craisins. Once this is mostly mixed, and it's okay if there's little bits that aren't, like if you find a chunk of cheese or whatever, we're going to be stretching it to mix it more as the morning goes on as well. Once that's done, just put the plate back on top and leave it.
Okay, so we're back here again.
It hasn't risen at all, it's just been about 30 minutes. I'm just going to do a stretch. So I'm going to reach under, grab a handful of dough and pull it up just until it starts breaking, and keep doing it around. I wet my hand before so that the dough doesn't stick. If you find it sticking, just re-wet it a little bit. Stretch it up and fold it over all the way around. And you'll feel once, now I'm at the end of my circle and the whole thing wants to come up instead of just a chunk stretching, and so then I'm done. I'll put the lid on and wait another 30 minutes and do it one more time.
All right, so we're back here again.
It's about an hour since we mixed in the cheese in our final dough. I'm going to do one more stretch. So again, just grab, pull, lift over, grab, stretch, over. And this one, I think, yeah, just 3, 4 is already pushing it. You can feel the whole lump of dough come up rather than just a nice handful. And then I'm going to leave this for another probably 2 to 3 hours until it's doubled in size, and then I'll be shaping my loaves.
All right, so our dough has risen. You can see the plate on top is just starting to come off.
So it has risen beautifully. Now, sometimes I put my dough in the oven. I just turn it on for a few minutes if it's not rising fast enough to help it along, but I don't do that with the cheese because then it starts melting the grated cheese, and that doesn't make it as nice to work with. All right, if you have one of these scrapers, they're great. So this will make 2 big loaves, so I'll just cut it. Actually, I'm going to do one. Cut it down the middle ish. That one's a bit bigger. All right, so to shape, what I'm going to do, just kind of fold it over, make it kind of round, a bit more flour on the top, and then I'm flipping it over, and then this is called the tension pull technique, so I'm using my pinky fingers to pull it, and then this part is actually getting, the top layer is being pulled tight. You can see it pulling along there. Pull, pull, pull tight. So you just do this. You don't have to push hard, or pull hard, I mean. You're just doing it around and around until that top becomes nice. It's a very gentle technique. Okay, and then you've got a nice round loaf. This one's got a bubble on the top. And then I just lightly flour my cloth here and put that in there. And then this one I'm going to do in a loaf pan to show you this technique, because not everybody has the cast iron to bake in. Okay, so here I just work it upside down like that. So it's pretty much the shape I want. Doesn't take a lot of anything, just be gentle with it. And stick it in here. Okay, and then I'm going to cover both of these with a cloth and let them rise for 1 hour. Okay, so my dough is being rising now for about 15 minutes to half an hour, and I'm going to turn my oven on. If you are baking in a cast iron, then you're actually going to put it right in the oven to start. I'm not using my cast iron today. I use these flower pots. They're just from the dollar store and they work really well. Okay, I'm just gonna pop it in there and then turn my oven on to 475 and let it preheat for half an hour to 45 minutes. All right, so my oven's warm. I'm gonna take my flower pot out. Little piece of parchment down there. This has risen really nicely. I always do mine upside down because I like the kind of rustic look of making this kind of bread. I just do an X on top. Put the lid on. Pop it back in. And then for this loaf, I'm going to just do some little cuts on top. Sorry, I didn't start this round very organized. So I do a piece of tin foil and make sure it's kind of poking up in the middle, but seal it on the edges, because what we're trying to do is steam the bread so that it rises as full as it can before that hard crust forms. So then I'll pop this in the oven too. Set my timer for 30 minutes. I'm gonna take the lid off of the one in my pot. And then the tin foil. This one. It's easier to just use my fingers. Try to not take too much. I guess you could probably oil the top of the tin foil so that it didn't stick. Right, and then I'll do another 5 minutes. And we should be done. My timer just went, so I'm gonna pull out this loaf. And this one I'm gonna leave in to get a little bit darker, just because the pan wasn't hot when I started baking it like this one was. So if you're doing it in a loaf pan, it might need a few extra minutes. So I'm just gonna do 3 extra minutes on that one. So my timer just went. This is what it looks like now. You just wanna get it right out of there to cool on the cooling rack. We're done. We'll cut it open in about half an hour when it cools nicely. Bread has been cooling for about half an hour now. So, well, this has actually been longer. You want to give it at least half an hour to cool down to make it easier to cut and not just... Right, and that's what it looks like on the inside.